we're essentially from a younger generation. And, as we continue to grow, as we continue to expand, we just continue to keep that mindset and philosophy of like, hey, we do understand how social works. We're still growing up in it, even though it's changing all the time. And we didn't want to cloud that, so to say, the culture that we were building by old school, corporate mindsets. My parents' generation in the older workforce really had, instilled in them hard work and just, grinding. And I believe that's very important. But we also want to have the big idea of it in our organization that we want to have fun and we want to enjoy what we do. And if you're not going to have fun, then you're probably not going to leave the impact you're looking for. And it just kind of like stayed to that younger tone of my generation, millennials and Gen Z. And as we continue to grow, it's just, we've attracted that type of audience and that type of people. And I think it's going to continue that way.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to look at leading the next generation. Leading the younger generation has been something that a lot of people have struggled with. If you are building a team of people, you're hiring new people, you want to build a strong team in the next generation, then you want to pay attention to this episode. Our special guest today is a partner inside of Sociallyin. They were Inc. 5000 level company. Also, that founder's name is Kaushal Kakadia. Maybe I mispronounced that, but it is a great conversation about leadership. One of the big insights behind this is a lot of people think the younger generation is entitled, and in some cases they are. And he has a unique approach to that, and I will give it to you here, but he unpacks it inside this episode, which is embrace that entitlement. You may have an opposition to that, but I will tell you, it really will help you understand this next generation when you embrace how they're thinking and meet them where they are. All that impact and much, much more in leading the younger generation with Kaushal. Kaushal, how are you?
Hey, Gene, it's going well. How have you been?
I am great. We're going to have a great interview today. Before we kick off that, I want you to give us a frame for your company. It is Sociallyin, and you guys made the Inc. list recently.
Yeah, so my name's Kaushal, Kakadia. I'm a partner here at Sociallyin. We're a 100% focused social media agency. So we pretty much do everything and only in the realm of social. And a little bit about that includes us helping brands and businesses with their social media strategy, their community, managing them, and making sure we're responding to them, giving the brand an actual voice. We run all of their, influencer campaigns. We run all of their paid social campaigns that they have, whether it's on TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Pinterest, you name it. We're on all of the relevant social platforms, and we're essentially helping them take it from conceptualization all the way to full execution. So depending on the brand we work with, the engagement is a little bit different each time, but anything in the realm of social media, we're able to help you with.
I know that a lot of people listening in here are B2B companies. We have some B2C. And I'm going to ask you a follow-up question to your company. What do you wish that CEOs of B2B companies knew and understood about social media?
One of the biggest lessons I would say for B2B companies is because they also understand that sales cycles for them sometimes are a little bit longer natured than B2C, they have to true value of social happens through time and through long-term impact. The way I like to think about it is called the Sour Patch Kids effect, right? It's sour at first, but they get sweet after. It's pretty much the same thing with social media. And a lot of the times, because social media at the end of the day is a bigger part of the marketing initiatives, everybody always wants to tie it back to ROI or an immediate value or an immediate return. And it's important to help B2B business owners know that with social media, to really do it right, to really leave a lasting impression, it's more about the longevity of it and your long-term strategy, not about 90-day goals and quarterly, reviews and ROI, essentially.
Well, I appreciate the context there around what you're doing. You guys made the Inc. list, you got about 77 employees, I'm sure, and growing. You have a younger team. What do you have you figured out about leading a younger team?
It's, obviously a unique situation because being in social media, one of the reasons it kind of like transpired that way. It wasn't even like, we just went after, younger people. It's more so the fact that we grew up in the day and age of social media. It wasn't something that was second nature to us, right? We understood how it worked, what the benefits of it were going to be, how businesses can really be impacted by social media. And I think just through our own growth of me and my business partner only being, 19, 20 years old when we started it, it kind of just transpired that way, that the people that we were working with, the people that we were around were essentially from a younger generation. And, as we continue to grow, as we continue to expand, we just continue to keep that mindset and philosophy of like, hey, we do understand how social works. We're still growing up in it, even though it's changing all the time. And we didn't want to cloud that, so to say, the culture that we were building by old school, corporate mindsets. My parents' generation, the older workforce, really had, instilled in them hard work and just, grinding. And I believe that's very important. But we also want to have the big idea of in our organization that we want to have fun and we want to enjoy what we do. And if you're not going to have fun, then you're probably not going to leave the impact you're looking for. And it just kind of like stayed to that younger tone of my generation, millennials and Gen Z. And as we continue to grow, it's just, we've attracted that type of audience and that type of people. And I think it's going to continue that way, even though we've started to lean a little bit older as well and hire some, older talent.
Kaushal, give me some examples of having fun in the workplace that is in alignment with you guys being a better team and a better culture.
Yeah. So, right before, I want to go just a little bit back to, right before the pandemic, because it really does start at, when we started the organization back in 2011, right? Because the concept has never changed of the fact that we wanted to build a place that people just provided world-class services, but they had fun and a good time doing it. And when we were all in office back even in 2015, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, before the pandemic, growth was a lot slower. But one of the things with small organizations and startups, as you know, is the fact that they play heavily on the culture and the fun aspect. And a lot of what we used to do back then was, we would have day off Fridays where we would go out as a team, go to places like Topgolf or Buffalo Wild Wings, and just, actually interact with each other on a human to human scale, right? We weren't as big. It's a lot easier to build personal connections. Everybody was friends, so to say. Even when we moved the company from Mississippi, which is where we started, to Birmingham, Alabama, we moved the entire company. It wasn't just like, hey, me and my business partner are moving. It's like the 7, 8, 9 people that we had, the entire team, we all hopped up our roots from small town Mississippi, moved together in a U-Haul that we all shared with all of our home stuff, and moved it to Birmingham. It's like, we always had that like family value type of culture when we were small. And, we were always wanting to do those fun types of things, of whether it was getting together, having offsite, being able to, have Bieber Fridays in our office where we just listen to Justin Bieber. And it's like those types of things, even though they seem so small, really leave a long-term impact on the people that, are part of the organization. So when the pandemic happened and we had to all go remote, obviously that was a big challenge. But what the things that we've done to continue to stay true to that is each and every one of our team members gets to meet me and my business partner when we first hire them within the first 90 days. We fly not just them, but them and their spouse and their family to Atlanta so they can actually meet with him, my business partner, and I on a one-to-one basis. That's just, one of the small things we do. We have fun perks where we encourage the team to get together, like lunch and learns that are led by different team members around any topic that they care about, whether it's yoga or whether it's AI or whether it's social or whatever it may be. They're leading a different topic and the team member gets to choose it. On top of that, we do things like company retreats on a yearly basis where we fly all of our team members into the central location where we're meeting, plus their spouses, and we have a 3-day event where we all get together, and it's only centered around, fun, right? We're not there for educational purposes at that time. It's really to build a bond and a relationship with each other. We're doing activities, icebreakers, games. Last year, we had a big 50-person rock, paper, scissors contest, and, whoever won, we donated different funds to different organizations that they were passionate about. So it's just like, we're really tailored to human, and I think that's what makes us the fun organization. It's like, we're not a corporate minded company, we're not robots, we're not AI, we're a human organization, and we put our people first, our customers second, and then our customers third. And that's the philosophy that we believe in.
Now, Kaushal was talking about, it's a lot like a family, and I think a lot of organizations start that way. And in my company, I've said this many times, but as you grow, that kind of approach to the culture begins to strain. In a family, we don't fire people, ideally, that because of non-performance. We are much more patient. We keep people around a lot longer than we should if we're having this family approach to the culture. And in some cases, it has its benefits. But as you grow, as you get to 20, 30, 40 people, you might be thinking, what's next for us? What is that kind of analogy? And so I offer you this. What if your culture was like a professional sports team? You were building a good team where people are working together, they're connecting, collaborating, and trusting each other. Those are good things. But they're also the best of the best. The people that are growing into these operations and the getting someone who has skills in a new area or someone that has some special insight into your industry or sales or marketing or whatever it may be, maybe they're requiring someone that a little bit older. Could still be the younger generation, but more expensive. And a professional sports organization embraces that. And if someone's not performing, they also embrace finding someone else who can. And so that's just a different approach to look at the culture of your company. Back to Kaushal. You put a lot inside of that.
I do.
I want to make sure that we address one of the big elephants in the room when we talk about younger generation. My wife, Amanda, has been on the show before. She is a generational expert, and she works with a lot of corporate, and she gets asked all the time, it's like, this younger generation, they're different. And we hear the same words over and over. There's a sense of entitlement that comes with this younger generation.
Sure.
I'm actually hearing some positive things about Gen Z, but there is a different way to approach this younger generation. So how do you guys address the entitlement issues? Because I know it's there for some people, but it's not there for everyone.
It's a good point. And I've been asked this before by people, and it's like, how do you combat it? And it's always like trying to work the opposite way of the question, which is like, we can't combat it. We have to embrace it, right? I believe it's different because the world is different, right? Like I said, the generations that my parents, my grandparents grew up in versus, what we grew in, the world was different, right? Life was just a lot harder. Technology didn't make things as simple as they were. The opportunities that now present themselves for people weren't as relevant. It was all about education. It was all about getting a degree. It was all about working hard at where you were going and working your way up the ranks. And that's important, but the world has changed, and so has the opportunities for people. So their entitlement necessarily isn't just considered entitlement, it's the reality of the world, right? And I think what's important about that is we have to embrace it. We have to embrace them where they are. They understand a lot more about the opportunities that present themselves, the different options that they have, and they also understand that success isn't just monetary and financial gain. Success comes a lot when it comes to being alive. So I think it's important that they do understand that they don't just have to be at a place that has a bad work environment that's toxic. They don't have to be at a place where their bosses are always angry and yell at them. They don't have to be, essentially at places that are all about the push and shove is the easiest way that I can kind of give it an analogy. They care more about the actual rights of people. They care about all of the issues that are going on in the world. And as organizations, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been in business for hundreds of years, you have to understand that's what's happening. And I think you have to embrace it and you have to meet them where they are. And I think it's headed in the right direction because it's more starting to become about humans and soft skills and not just about wearing your white collar hat at work and doing what you need to and what's required of you. I think it's a lot more than that. It's about actually people integrating what they love to do with their work and their personal life.
Now, I want to highlight something that Kaushal's been talking about, this younger generation of entitlement. He said, embrace it. What that really means is instead of trying to combat it or fix it or wring it out of your organization, what if you understood it more? What if you understood the people and where it's coming from and you had these discussions about it? I know the power of this, and it may sound scary and I'm not sure how to do it, or maybe does it open a can of worms, but let's talk about entitlement. There's an exercise I do with teams where we actually will write the word in the middle of the whiteboard and draw us kind of a circle around it with spikes out, look like a sun, and just discuss what is entitlement. And you'll find the pros and the cons of these things. And I know there's a lot of probably cons in your world, but there's also things to be understood. And this is an exercise that I would recommend so that you get on the same page about the word. I do think it will minimize entitlement because people will say, that's not me. That's not what I'm looking for. But it'll also help you understand where they're coming from. It's just one way to lean in and embrace the entitlement that's going on inside this younger generation of your workforce. Now back to Kaushal. You mentioned soft skills. I want to go deeper there because full disclosure, have a 15-year-old who struggles in this area. He's pretty smart. And I look at the next generation. There's a lot of people that are struggling with these social skills. And it's happening with my clients, the social skills or the soft skills, if you will, of working in an environment that requires collaboration, requires creativity. It requires working together in a way that they haven't done before. How do you guys create that kind of environment at your Sociallyin?
Yeah. It's a great question. One of the things that we have at our organization is a culture committee. So even though me and my business partner believe that obviously we influence by example a lot of the culture, we don't try to only instill the culture based on what him and I create. We instill it as a collaboration of the core people on the team that we really believe are true examples of what we believe in and the core values that we have as an organization. Our core values are all soft skills. They're words like empathy and integrity and being authentic and, being optimistic. And, they're actual soft skills. They're not all about innovation and being the most strategic and those skills that people have essentially put at the pedestal for a long time. It's really about, like I said, being human, right? Going back to the statement I made of our people come first. I think why we have such a open culture that embraces the true soft skills is because we treat each individual as exactly that, an individual, right? Being yourself and bringing your special skills. We're a team of almost 80 people, but we're not just all based in the US. I have team members in Europe. I have team members in India, in the Philippines, in Argentina, in Africa. And it's like we all have unique cultures. We all have unique viewpoints and perspectives. And I think that's what makes Sociallyin beautiful is, yeah, we are diverse, we are young, we are innovative, we are all of these things. But it's not that. It's like Sociallyin is a special recipe of almost 80 people from all unique viewpoints that bring something authentic to the organization. And that's what makes us us. That's what nobody else can replicate. That's what nobody else can, make a copy of, because there's not 80 unique individuals that are exactly like we are. And I think because we embrace that and that's what we foster in our leaders and each individual when I'm onboarding them, I think that's what's allowed us to continue to grow and have that mindset. It's just at the embodiment of exactly who we are as human beings.
So we're talking about leading the younger generation and the impact that's had across your business. Where do you get your influence to be the leader that you are, where you're putting your people first, where you're focusing on soft skills, and also you're investing in a management program to give people the leadership skills so that the company can continue to grow? But where'd you get your influence for leadership?
It's a great question because I think I don't share with enough people essentially, my background and how I've come to, where I am in my journey. And a lot of it, I would have to say, wasn't easy for me. You can probably paint me as one of those, typical first generation Indian Americans that came here because my parents grew up very poor and not, didn't have a lot of money. They worked hard. I grew up with the dream of being wealthy and chasing after the dollars and, you get the immigrant, mindset essentially where it's all about the work and, bringing yourself out and showing to everybody that you're really capable of doing it. And, a lot of that did happen in my early journey whether when I was in college, after I got out of college and I was working in, places like Tutti Frutti and Subway and Holiday Inn, and my parents were in the hotel industry growing up. So it was more of, I would say, what I had, the aggressions in my life against me, prove to people that I could do it, to prove to people that I am worthy enough. I think it was a little bit of that adversity. But then as I really started to grow up and understand myself, a few of the different people that really have influenced me heavily are, one of them is Gary Vaynerchuk. He really, because he was in the marketing space and after his family business and what he started to build, I did start to follow him. And I followed him essentially since 2003. So he's been a big impact on my life. Another one that I would say that really helped me was when my father passed away in 2019. That was hard for me. I was, being of such a immigrant family, and being that type of culture, it was very important for us, like the family upbringing and having all of that, and being 27 years old and losing my dad at that time. It was hard for me, and I started to realize like the things that I thought were important weren't necessarily as important as they started to be really for me. And I started to realize what was important for me was my journey of being happy, and wanting to pursue not the end goal, but everything that I do on a day-to-day basis to be a part of what drives that happiness. And so I think it was also losing my dad. And third, would have to be my wife. And I know that may sound a little bit cliche, but I've been now with my wife married for 3 years, but I've been with her since 2013. So almost 10 years that me and my wife were together. I'm 31 years old, for perspective. So from the time I've been 21, I was with the same woman, and she really brought me out of a hole, I would say, that I kind of dug myself into. And just being there, from having nothing to where I am now, which is able to provide for many people and my team and my family, and just that growth that she's seen, I would really say between those three people, they've had the largest impacts on my life. And a lot of it was just the self-awareness that all three of those situations brought to me. Between Gary and my wife and me losing my dad, I think those three things really helped me understand myself better and what I valued and what was important for me in this journey that I'm in.
I can relate to all that. I'm just thinking about my father passed years ago, 2005. So was it 18 years?
Wow.
And my wife is also a big part of my life right now with the business and professionally, and she makes me a better person. Not that anyone needs to hear about all of our, our personal lives, but it is part of who we are as entrepreneurs. And I think that it is. I really appreciate you sharing that. That has been our time today. I really appreciate your insights, your wisdom about leading the younger generation, and hopefully everyone is got some insight around how to make those changes inside their own organizations.
Yeah, if I can leave with essentially one thing, it's people will forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And if I believe in every interaction you truly embody that, I promise you'll leave the lasting impact that each of us essentially hope for.
That's the Maya Angelou quote that actually I gravitated to when the shit hit the fan in my life 12 years ago and I became a coach. That was the one quote that I remember back to as I want to make a difference in this world. So thanks for sharing that with us, and I really appreciate your insights.
I appreciate it, Gene. Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful interview. I love the quote at the end there. Let me just kind of mention this. This quote was the quote that helped me become a coach. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of cliches in this world. Maya Angelou came up with this quote: people won't remember what you do or say, but they will remember how you make them feel. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what led me to being a coach, helping people feel something, helping people transform, helping people create a new way of understanding and seeing themselves, seeing the world, and making it a better place and a lighter place, an empowered place. That's what I specialized in, and I want to make sure that that's I talked about that with you today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. I really believe that we've got to embrace leading the younger generation. It is part of your growth plan to hire people. It is part of your plan to hire people that aren't, super, super expensive. And if that's the case, you want to make sure you are looking at the younger generation and you're able to create a place that they're attracted to, that you are able to lead them powerfully. It's not easy, but it is the future of your company. It's what I believe. Hopefully this is helpful. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank, as always.